right. Well, now I'm going to have to edit this now, aren't I? Or should I just put it in? All right. Hello and welcome to episode 91 of Rockstar CMO FM. The M is for marketing and the F is for, well, you decide. As you're probably wondering, does the world need another effing marketing podcast? I'm your host, Ian Truscott, and this weekly podcast serves as my excuse to chat with marketing friends old and new that I've met through my career as a marketing leader and trusted advisor, and hopefully share with you some marketing street knowledge my guests and I have picked up along the way. Come say hello. We have Rockstar CMO on Twitter and LinkedIn. This episode is recorded on Friday the 3rd of December. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've had a good week and you are well, safe and staying as sane as you feel you need to be. My chum Jeff Clark is back and we discuss some Gartner predictions for the new year. My guest is Melissa Sargeant, CMO at Litmus, and Robert Rose, my friend and content marketing guru, is in the Rockstar CMO virtual bar. Right, let's get started, shall we? My chum Jeff Clark is a Rockstar CMO advisor and former research director at Serious Decisions Forrester. It's peak prediction season and we take a look at something a chum of ours recently shared on LinkedIn from Gartner. Hello Jeff, welcome back to Rockstar CMO FM. How are you, my friend?
I am well, thank you for having me back.
You're very welcome. Are you in the deep freeze in the northeast there?
It's a sunny, it's one of those, all the leaves are off the trees, but and we've had some cold days, but it is sunny today. And so we'll likely try to get out for a walk after we get off this call.
I like it. Yeah, we had, it's dark now, but we had one of those days here as well. And I love those crisp, cold winter days. I'd take that over the miserable grey that we get so often here. I'd rather have the cold temperature but the blue sky than the higher temperature and the grey. So sounds like we've had a similar kind of day today. And
and in a week I'll be in Norway and I'll be enjoying the dark mornings and the dark evenings, but that little bit of crisp, cold, bright sunshine between 12 and 2.
Yes. And you've just given away to the Jeff Clark fan base out there that we're going to lose you for a few weeks. So
that's fine.
Oh, that's Anyway, what brings us together this week is an old colleague of ours called John Field, who is now an analyst at Gartner, was sharing something on LinkedIn that we both kind of jumped on. Which is the top 10 predictions. What's it called?
Top 10 strategic predictions for 2022 and beyond.
And beyond.
And beyond.
This is I'll include a link to it in the show notes, but it's been curated by one of their content marketers, Casey Panetta, and it's sort of bringing together a bunch of research that Gartner are doing at the moment, isn't it? And it's a crazy list. I mean, it ranges from privacy, customer data, agile, Africa, cyber attacks, hyper tokenization, NFTs, and the last one, more internet. Now, I'm not going to read out all 10, but I thought because we don't have time, but I thought I'd ask you, Jeff, what say you to these predictions?
I thought you wouldn't ask, but I think for our listening audience, as you said, there's a pretty broad range here. So I thought there might be a few that were worth drilling into and getting our thoughts on for marketers because they're relevant to marketers. Yeah. And the first big caveat, having worked at Forrester and Serious Decisions, you certainly worked at analyst firms. I mean, we all know it's kind of like, you put these things out because you're really trying to drive interest in your research, which means you're trying to sell subscriptions, which means more money for Gartner. And these things many times are meant to be provocative. And then you look under the hood and then you realize, well, that's not that's not that radical a suggestion, but so it's always
you cynic.
Oh, I see. That's what happens when you been in this game for a while. Yes, and when you see how the sausage is made, and I've certainly written my series of future predictions, and there's always some relevance, and again, they're made to provoke interest, but they're made to be provocative, and so sometimes it's you just have to drill into it to see what's the reality, and so like the first one to me, and then there were a series that covered issues about privacy and data collection, which I think back in the beginning of the year we had a series on that topic, and the prediction is a 70% reduction in privacy sanctions, which when I hear that, to me it sounds like, oh, you mean like the EU and state of California or whatever, they're going to like retract their privacy restrictions. But what they're really getting at is that companies are going to move to more, synthetic data collection. So they're not really necessarily collecting your personal information. They're going to use AI and some tools that, to help them, build a profile of you as this person who has interacted on their website or interacted with their applications. And, and then do personalization from there. So they don't really have to, they don't have to collect the information that would get them in trouble with the, with the big bureaucracies. And I think, I would say that's, even though I think that the prediction is somewhat misleading, that the practice is okay, because, to a degree, we remain anonymous. Our personal data is not being, used for bad purposes and or leaked out there. And then, but we do get some of the benefits of personalization that we all come to enjoy by shopping on Amazon and, all the various other places that have been using those types of tactics.
Yeah, but
so
I think
go ahead.
The main point of the prediction is that we'll use synthetic data instead of real data in order to do that, right?
Yeah.
So the regulatory authorities will come and say, well, let me have a look at your data. And you go, this isn't data. This is just shit we made up with an AI engine. No, that's not Jeff. That's Jay.
That's yes. That's the J persona.
That's J978. What the hell? So
we have tokenized them, which gets to one of the other.
Yeah, but presumably, in order to train the model, you're going to need real data, right? So that's the way. I mean, I don't know about whether they're using AI in the right term here, because you're on sketchy ground when you talk about AI anyway.
I think
talk about machine learning and things like that. But presumably, it's.
I think the key is that they're not going to necessarily take my email, my my name, my social security, whatever, the pieces, the PI data that I think that is we're trying to protect. But you're right. Yeah.
But then again, I think that behavior can identify us just as well, right? So I think I think it needs to be cautious. It's an interesting prediction, I think, but it certainly leads on to prediction number 2.
Number
3.
Yeah.
Number 2, consumers fight data collection, and I've no idea what number 3 means. Mining brain data, but anyway, let's not be doing that.
Let's not be doing that. Yeah, if they ask you to connect your computer or your phone directly to your brain, don't do that.
Let's not be doing that. But number 2, consumers fight data collection. I think that's a pretty sound prediction, because it's already happening, isn't it?
It is happening, but the thing I would counter is that it says by 2024, so 2 years away, 40% of consumers are going to trick behavior tracking metrics to intentionally devalue personal data collected about them.
Yeah.
Okay, 40%. So the flip side is 60% of customers will not be able to trick tracking metrics. So I think that's where I mean, I mean, today, this is one of the things is that we know people are being influenced, with, I mean, not just from a consumer perspective in terms of what things are being pitched to us, but we're being influenced by, conspiracy theories, misinformation, blah, 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 blah. And so, there are a number of us that, got off Facebook or got off Instagram or are trying to really monitor our social media activity, et cetera. But there's a whole chunk of the world and the country in the U.S. And in the U.K. that frankly is just is stuck in this. It's like they don't want to get rid of the tools that they have basically given their personal identities up to, and they're going down the rabbit holes. And so this is, I think, these two things. Certainly with the third prediction, which is about, again, mining. The mining the brain data is that using neural mining and to influence subconscious behaviors. These are things that really require regulation. From our public officials, because we could very easily find ourselves in the traps of the dystopic fiction from 1984 onward. Then all of a sudden we're just like at the end of some virtual chain getting influenced and doing crazy things, which people, by the way, are doing today.
Well, what I found interesting about this prediction number 2 is my daughter's behavior, my 17-year-old daughter's behavior on TikTok, is she has got 2 accounts because she's aware that TikTok is going to serve her content based on her behavior. She behaves a certain way because she likes a particular Korean boy band, and she wants to present to TikTok a fan of this boy band. So that's all the content she gets on that TikTok account. So she is completely aware of what's going on, and she modifies her behavior so that TikTok account for her is Korean boy band TikTok, and the other TikTok is regular TikTok, right? So I think it's interesting that people are becoming aware and they're being cautious about what they're clicking on, and then other people are creating multiple social accounts to do that. Anyway, we've dug into that.
I totally agree with you, and I think the bigger point is that yes, there's going to be a portion that does this smartly, and then there's going to be a big portion which potentially is going to be the lion's share of the population that doesn't, and they just get sucked into the voids. And
then we get.
Oh, go ahead.
No, and then I thought if we move on from data, I mean, just in the interest, I mean, I don't know what your last point on that was going to be, so I should let you.
No, I think that I mean, my last point, particularly when you get into the using this to purposely manipulate us, which I mean, we've been manipulated by TV advertising and stuff for years. So I mean, this is nothing new. It's just there's new tools, and at some point we as societies need to be serious about how we regulate this stuff, so we'd make sure that it doesn't come back to bite us.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got a bunch of marketing books behind me, and I was just looking away from the microphone because I think it's like The Choice Factory by Richard Shotton. That book talks about all the different psychological, if I'm using the right terminology, triggers that drive our behavior that marketers have been using forever, right? So we are basic people, really, aren't we? That kind of stuff. I mean, this prediction talks about neuroscience. Well, we've kind of been doing it all this time. So, there's some basics.
We're getting better tools.
Exactly. And then if we get to prediction number 4, I think that we definitely have an opinion on this. Agile in, managers out.
Managers out. Yes. Damn those damn managers. The data points they have is that, adoption of Agile, it certainly this applies to marketing, but they're not talking just about marketing, but like 30% adoption, corporate teams to Agile, which I've seen similar, and they're saying by 2024. So I've seen other, particularly in marketing, certainly in development, where it's higher than 30%. And then hybrid work, 50% of organizations will have hybrid work environments. And it's like, okay, so I think I would agree with that in terms of just general outlook of what the percentages are going to be, but the managers out, this is where I have a real problem, because I think we're giving Agile too much credit. So Agile can help you run processes, but people still need to be managed. I mean, people still need to, understand, whether they're performing well, pay increases, I mean, and I think companies, I don't know about your experience, my experience, even though I've been in some fairly well-run companies, is that companies don't do a really good job of managing people and developing talent. And obviously some companies do a great job, but I think it is very, very hit and miss. And so why are so many people in the US particularly, I don't know about in the UK or in Europe, so many people are quitting their jobs because poor pay, bad direction, bad working conditions. And it's like 1 out of 5 healthcare workers have quit in the United States over the past year.
Wow.
So it's like, well, we can talk about Agile all we want, but unless there's some mechanism for really directly mentoring and developing talent, you're just going to lose people. And if that's the Scrum Master, then they're the manager. It's not that complicated.
That was my thought from this. For me, the Scrum Master has an operational management role within an Agile team, but to your point, they don't have the the pay and rations, the health of the employee. That's the right word, but
not necessarily,
the well-being of. They're not going to care about that because. Well, they may care, but it's just that from an Agile structure, the Agile team is there to do a thing. There's none of the soft, career development, make sure you're okay, all that kind of good stuff. It's just to get the thing done.
And if it's truly a cross-functional team, then it's like, like say in marketing, it's a cross-functional team where somebody's from digital, someone from creative, someone from field marketing, whatever. Then it's like those people still... they sit in these other functions. So it becomes a matrix management challenge, which is not necessarily, a lot of companies do matrix management really well. So it's like, that's where I think the whole idea about management out or managers out is stupidity.
Absolutely.
That does bring me to another one though. Or did you have another comment before we move on?
No, really. I mean, I was just agreeing with you, really, because I think that we work in complex organizations. We have tools like Agile that we can use. That doesn't mean the manager is out. That just means that it's a different challenge as a manager to run matrix teams and all that kind of good stuff. And I think that's what you were saying. So where are we going next? Because prediction number 5 is about Africa, which is a wonderful prediction, but not necessarily in our wheelhouse. So
more developers in Africa. I say 3 cheers for them. So prediction 6, which I think kind of relates to the Agile challenge, but is about modular. It says modular business or bust. So by 2024, 80% of CIOs surveyed will list modular business redesign as one of the top 5 reasons for accelerated business performance. So,
and there's a word there that I predict is going to be the word of 2022, if it isn't already. It's composability. We're seeing that in MarTech. Now it's been used in MarTech to describe best of breed, or what we've always described as best of breed is now called composability. I mean, it's way cooler. Now, as normal with us, is we pluck these terms from one place and put them else, and now we can have composability organizations.
And does that make you feel composed or not?
Well, what the fuck does this mean?
Well, so a couple things. One thing is that this whole idea about modular, business concepts is not new. I mean, I think it was applied in manufacturing back in the 90s, which is interesting if you think about like Agile and some other things. It's like it starts in manufacturing, moves into something like software development, then it moves into broader business practice. And in this case, I actually believe I had some experience with this because when I was at Pegasystems, one of the things we did, and one of the things that a number of our customers were doing, is that rather than having sort of a big IT organization and big development teams that sat in a central organization, they pushed the management of IT and the development of applications that serve particular departments and business units. They pushed it out into the business units, and that gave, like in marketing, that gave us more flexibility to, if we wanted to put together something to help manage our events or to track customers a certain way, dealing with, our personalization. So we could build that stuff as long as we were, adhering to the sort of the guidelines, the constraints that are set up by the corporate organization. So they kind of push the standards out for security, connectivity, management of data. But then you've got the responsibility for building things that help you. And I think that's as with a lot of trends, as we've talked about agile, et cetera. I mean, these things, they take time to mature, and they take time to really roll out. And I think what this prediction is just saying is that the kind of what's been percolating for a decade or so is now going to become more predominant.
Right. So on to the last one.
Yeah. So the last one I thought it was relevant to marketers is the break up with bad customers. And so 75% by 2025 of companies will break up with poor fit customers that are costing, retention, the cost of retaining them, because they're not good fit. And so one of the things that I think is absolutely true about this, and it certainly relates to marketing, relates to sales as well, is that companies were getting better and better about understanding and measuring, the long-term value of customers, customer cost acquisition, particularly when more companies move to more of a subscription model. These things became more important, and I think now they're making their way into more of the, common management practices, so that people can do their planning, their decision making, and say, these are the customers we're going after. These are the customers that really aren't good fits for us, and we're either going to, not service them, or we're going to charge them more for what they're getting, and they'll eventually kind of go away. But I think it's more about making sure you've got profitable customer segments, as opposed to necessarily I just need more customers for more revenue. Right. So I think that's an absolute. I would bank on that. That prediction.
Do you think is that because we've got better data about these things?
One, we got better data, but it's like, again, the concepts. This is kind of like the modular business approaches. It takes a while for concepts to really get into common management practice, so that the people running the company and the people running the specific departments, running sales, marketing, I mean, everyone understands the concept. And so now let's manage to it, as opposed to just being something we look at the end of the year to say, oh, geez, our cost of customer acquisition was way too high.
Yeah. That's not cost of customer acquisition, though, is it? Because what they're saying here is poor fit customers. So it's existing customers, right? So it's the idea.
Well, I think it would be both existing customers, and then it's like, well, who are we going to? What's the profile of the customer we're going to go after? So we make sure we're not just grabbing new customers for the sake of it.
Yeah, it's just I've had this conversation recently, and you talk to organizations, and they naturally want to keep all of their customers, but then they have to realize that especially in a SaaS business, as soon as somebody calls you and you've got them on a low margin, then that's a loss-making customer. So, you can't have a loss-making customer. So that's
absolutely.
So,
and a company I'm working with right now, we're going through the exact same thing. It's like they've got customers who are costing them more. Yeah, and those customers haven't signed up for the level of service that's really required to protect them in cyber attacks and things like that.
Yeah. So that was number 8, break up with bad customers. So the prediction there, I mean, that's a 2025 prediction that 75% of companies will break up with poor fit customers. But personally, I think if you're not looking at, especially if you're a SaaS business or service business, if you're not looking at the value of each of your customers, then it's not good for either of you, is it? Because
correct.
It's not good for you. It's not good for the customer. You have to be making sure that you can serve them. Because look, I mean, over here, what we've had is recently a bunch of energy companies have gone bust because they weren't charging enough. So it was great for the consumer that they weren't being charged enough, but ultimately the company's going to go bust. So that
doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. And so the last 2 predictions that they have here is hyperfixation on hypertokenization, which is basically about NFTs. What I loved about this prediction is the hyperfixation. I think we're already in a hyperfixation of NFTs, don't you? We seem to be top of hype cycle on this thing. So
they also talked about non-fungible token gamification, and so I was like, well, what's wrong with fungi?
Yeah.
I mean, I like fun. Anyway, this is another area that's going to require a lot of oversight, I would say. And then the last one, more internet for less.
Yeah.
They're saying that it's going to raise 50% of the world's population out of poverty because of expanding internet coverage. And I was like, well, it hasn't worked so far, so I'm not sure. I think it takes a little bit more than the internet access to lift people out of poverty. That's an essential building block, but it takes a little bit more than that.
No, I agree. So that's the 10 predictions, and we picked out some of that stuff. And as you mentioned, Jeff, you're going to be off for a bit on your travels, seeing your family in Norway.
In Norway,
nice.
Yep.
All right,
traveling to Norge.
Well, enjoy the holidays, and we'll resume with you in January. And in the meantime, what song are you going to leave us with?
I'm going to leave you guys with Virtual Insanity by Jamiroquai from 1996.
That's a classic.
The future's made of virtual insanity seems to be governed by this love we have for useless, twisting new technology. I don't know. I think that wraps it up.
So you started off cynical of this list, and we've finally decided it's virtual insanity. So that's excellent. Thank you very much, Jeff. And enjoy your break. Enjoy it, and have happy holidays. And I'll see you when you come back.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Thanks, Jeff, and thanks to our mutual chum, John Field, now of Gartner himself, for sharing that article, which I will include a link to in the show notes. Let us know what you think, or share your predictions with us. We are Rockstar CMO on Twitter and LinkedIn, and bon voyage to Jeff as he goes off on his travels. He'll be back with us in the new year. On to my guest this week. Melissa Sargeant is the CMO at Litmus, where she runs all the marketing things, including corporate and product branding, demand generation, product marketing, public relations, and event management. Prior to Litmus, Melissa was the CMO at SugarCRM, who you've no doubt heard of, and at e-commerce innovator ChannelAdvisor, ECOM. Melissa has a fabulous 30-year marketing career in the tech sector, applying her expertise in SaaS, go-to-market strategy and execution, customer success, digital demand generation and branding, with companies like Avalara, CA Technologies, Digitalsmiths, who are part of TiVo, Bluefire Security Technologies, and Guardent VeriSign. As you'll hear, Litmus helps optimize email marketing, so a great opportunity to dive into this topic. Hope you enjoy this conversation. Hi, Melissa. Thank you for joining us on Rockstar CMO FM. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Melissa, and delight to have you on the show. Thank you very much for your time. So for people that don't know you, Melissa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am the CMO of Litmus. I have been with Litmus for 2 years now. This is my third CMO role. Previously, I was the CMO at SugarCRM, and then before that, I was CMO at ChannelAdvisor in the e-commerce space. I've been in tech marketing for 30 years now and have done hard time and pretty much all of the disciplines in marketing, and really have been very excited when I came to Litmus to work in a MarTech company that I finally get to come to work every day and geek out about marketing. And I don't just get to geek out about marketing with the marketing team. The whole company has to join me in this joy, because that's who we sell to.
Yeah, no, I love it. I've spent most of my career in marketing technology, so yeah, I'm a big fan of it myself as well. Especially as I'm an ex-techie, so it all works like that. And it's funny you mentioned SugarCRM. I've just come out of a call talking about SugarCRM with somebody. So
it's a small world.
It is a small world. And you've had a great marketing career from what I can see and what I've followed. And what inspired you to get into marketing in the first place?
It was complete dumb luck. My education is in political science and U.S. history. And so my first gig out of school was really in a PR and public affairs firm. And I was focused more on the issues, based on my education. But I was spending a lot of time going to political fundraisers, and I just really didn't, enjoy that part of the work. But the agency that I was working for also just did traditional corporate clients. So I started to pivot and do a little bit more with the corporate clients. And that's where I found, okay, this feels right to me. From my agency time, then I went to my first tech company and in the marketing department and said, okay, like I'm good at this. I understand this. I feel like I'm at home. And that's where I really started my journey. So I really had no intention of ever, becoming a marketer. I viewed myself as somebody who would either go into politics or maybe go back to school and go to law school and go that route. Yeah. So I just kind of found my way into marketing.
Yeah, and so many of the people I talk to are the same way, and so many of my peers that I chat to, fell into marketing. And it's funny you talk about history. I mean, 2 weeks ago, and I was going to mention Drew Nizer later in our conversation, but he's also comes from a history background as well. So there's obviously something there as well in terms of that. And whereabouts are you anyway? I'd forgotten to ask. Where are you right now?
So I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I am a native to the Washington, D.C. area. My husband and I moved here 12 years ago to get more trees, and it's a little more quiet down here. So it's nice, although it has gotten cold, and I am a warm weather person. And so I will just be holding on for dear life for the next 4 months until it warms up again.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was... how many years ago now? Yeah, I was based in DC a short time ago, and we were living out in Maryland, and there was a big storm in DC, like a lot of snow, and just you're not really used to it, and it was just horrible. It was warmer than when I moved down from Stanford. I was in Connecticut and New York, yes, but this time of year, isn't it? This is the time.
We're in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, that's so typically British of me to be talking about the weather. I mean, so let's get back to Litmus. Tell us a bit about what Litmus does.
So if you're an email marketer, we'll talk a little bit about the challenges that email marketers have. So if you're going to create an email, there's a number of things that you have to take care of in terms of how you build that email. And then once you get a draft of it, you need to send versions out to your different team members. So you might make a PDF and email it to them, and then they'll put their comments in a bunch of emails and send it back to you. And then when it's time to, when you're proofing that email, you want to be able to make sure that all of the different device combinations, there's over 300,000 different renderings somebody can read a single email on. And between all of the different clients and browsers and devices, they're making changes on average every 2 days. Trying to keep up with that and do that manually is nearly impossible. I can't send it to you. I can't send out 300,000 different variations to my friends and family to get them to check my email. And what Litmus does is, in a single platform, from that whole process, from the first time you start coding your email and building it, through testing it, and then when you go to hit send, you can know with confidence that when you hit send that you've built it properly. It's not going to end up in the spam folder. It's going to render. If you've got a lot of people are viewing their emails now in dark mode, that it's been optimized for dark mode, that it's going to land in that email box safely. They're going to be able to read it and consume it. And then afterwards, after you hit send, we say it doesn't end with send at Litmus, and that you're going to be able to understand what that person did with the email. Did they forward it to somebody? How much time did they spend viewing it, so that you can take that intelligence and apply it to your next email campaign. So it's really an end-to-end email optimization platform. to make sure that your emails make it in the inbox safely, which is very different. Right. Sometimes people mix us up with, email service providers. We're not a sending platform. We're that piece that sits on top of your sending platform and make sure that you get the maximum value for every single email you send.
That's what I was going to ask as well, where it fitted in with the rest of the email ecosystem. So that's useful. And I mean, that's a classic content management problem. I mean, that's my background, is getting everybody to agree to just the words and to collaborate in that platform. So that's interesting that we have that in every channel, don't we? We have that channel. And speaking about channels, email these days can I say that it's not seen as glamorous as other channels these days, and often people are declaring it as dead, with everything else that's coming along, particularly compared with the obsession that people have with social and all sorts of automated marketing, much of which is very annoying. Why do you think email has still remained relevant? Why do you think it's still a great channel for marketers to work with?
Yes, there's a number of reasons why email is such an effective channel. First of all, when you think about the buyer's journey, that the customers that you're selling to, more and more of that is happening online, digitally, before they ever want to talk to somebody in your sales team or go to your website and convert to buy something. They're educating themselves. Email is an important part of that journey. And it's unique to the other channels in that your subscribers have invited you into their inbox. Yeah. They've explicitly said, I want you to give me information about your product and help educate me. Mm-hmm. And so there's a relationship aspect to email marketing that few other channels can match. And that's why it's in most marketers, in their toolbox, when they look at their multi-channel mix, email is always a key part of that. If you're running webinars, how do you invite somebody to your webinar? Yeah. It's going to be through email. It's just that key link to that one-to-one relationship with your subscribers and your customers. So it doesn't get a lot of the glitz and glam that some of the other channels, but the truth is, in marketing, is that there's the foundational things that were foundational 20 years ago are still very foundational today. And email's a key part of, just your marketing mix, your total DNA.
True. I mean, we've gone through phases, haven't we, where people have talked about people's websites are going to be replaced, and that hasn't happened either. So yeah, you're right. It's one of those key foundational technologies and ways of engaging. Like the website's always going to be there, the email's always going to be, then it's going to be augmented with these other channels. And I use that word augmented because, I presume you follow Joe Polizzi and his work as well. And when he talks about content and he talks about customer engagement, email for him is top of the tree in his what he describes as a subscriber hierarchy in his book Content Inc. And I picked on that because I think it's relevant, isn't it? Because so many people are talking about social and talking about, and Joe Polizzi talks about rented land all the time. The fact that the email really is your land, isn't it? It's where you own that engagement. So what advice do you give to marketers when, for your own self or your peers about where email marketing should play in this sort of mix?
It should be a core part of your mix, because from the first time that somebody engages with your brand and you get their permission to communicate with them, you can leverage email to nurture that relationship and help them along that buyer's journey in terms of, hey, I saw that you reviewed this white paper. People who reviewed that white paper also took a look at this customer success story or this review, and that you can do it in a way that the way that our consumers and subscribers want us to engage with them, in terms of not pushing product, but helping to understand the challenges that their business faces and showing them alternatives or options to educate them along that buyer's journey. And email allows you to do that, walk side by side with them in that relationship, and for them to consume it in the way that they want to, which is, we know that, like in B2B, they operate much more like B2C now than they ever have before. And email is just a key partner, in that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And where do you see, I mean, at the moment, there's a big pushback, isn't there, with privacy and unsubscribe, and Apple suggesting it's going to obfuscate our email addresses and all that stuff. But what I liked about what you're talking about is that choice of being subscribed, right? Because, I mean, I was CMO of a German company, and we were incredibly tight about GDPR and double opt-in way before I think anybody thought about GDPR. You know, that's just the way it's always been in that market. But what I saw in that organization was a very clean, very engaged database. Is that your sort of experience, that sort of advice you have around privacy? Does it worry you at all?
It's, it's certainly interesting because we have these two seemingly opposing forces of privacy. And on the other hand, we have our consumers and subscribers and our customers telling us they want us to create a one-to-one relationship with them. They want us to show them that we know them and that we understand their problems. But we have to do it in a really responsible way with how we handle their data. So it's undeniably a challenge and a fine line that we walk in marketing. And again, I think it gets back down to the fundamentals. When was the last time, somebody looked at their preference center? Sometimes we build those preference centers and kind of set it and forget it. Go back to your preference center and look what's there, and give people the option to explicitly opt in to the type of content and information that they want to receive from your company. And when you do that consistently over time, you're becoming much more of, a trusted advisor, and you're creating a true one-to-one relationship with that customer that the other channels just simply can't do it. But you're absolutely right. You have to have a clean database. A lot of companies are talking about, customer data platforms now because, 20 years ago in marketing, we didn't have any data. Now we are swimming in data and we don't know what to do with it. It's sitting in different silos, in different systems. And it's really, really hard for marketers to be able to bring all that together, make intelligent insights, and leverage it in a responsible way that actually serves their customers. So having a clean database, looking at your preference centers, understanding the behavior of your email subscribers, what they're engaging with, what they're not, and not taking a set it and forget it, type approach, that this is a proactive thing that you have to manage every single day, just like you manage your website every single day that you're optimizing SEO. You have to do the same thing with your email marketing program.
Yeah. And do you see that privacy engagement, like, the preference center and the way that you engage, as a key part of the whole customer engagement? It's like, I've read articles about people forget that the cookie policy on your website is the first thing that somebody sees. So the words you use, the way you present it, how easy it is to use, is the first impression of somebody these days. All those crazy pop-ups on your website is the first impression. Do you think that's the same with email as well, that we shouldn't just think of the opt-in as a transaction, but actually as an opportunity as part of that conversation?
Definitely the latter, that when they opt in, you are starting a relationship with that subscriber, and you have to treat it like a relationship, a respectful relationship, by only, sharing with them information that they want to consume, by, understanding if they're consuming more, you might want to speed up. If they slow down, you may want to slow down a bit and not overwhelm them. And the more that you take care of that relationship, the more trust you're going to build with them over time, the more affinity they're going to have for your brand, and the more successful, the more you'll get from that true relationship that you're building with those customers and subscribers.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. I think email is as we were saying, like it's your own, that relationship is your own relationship. You're not relying on anybody else for that, unlike Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm going to change tack a little bit, because I mentioned Drew Nizer earlier on, and when I was doing my research before you came on the program, I noticed that we've got something in common. Well, not quite, because I'm not in the CMO huddles, but me and Drew were talking about CMO huddles. He doesn't have it. So anyway, I should start from the beginning. So Drew was on the show 2 weeks ago. He runs a program from CMO Huddles, which I understand is a community of CMOs. You guys get together, you talk about the the issues of the day. Sounds fascinating to me. What I wanted to ask you about is, what do you get from that experience, and what do you get from the experience of connecting with your peers? And is it something? It's a stupid question. Is it something you'd recommend that people connect with other CMOs? So this is the great thing about being the host, right? You just ask stupid questions. Is it a good idea for CMOs to talk to each other? Well, yeah, but no, I was just thinking about it, and talk, because a few weeks ago as well, I had a guy on the show who I found out subsequently was in CMO huddles too, and I'm interested in this program, and what does it give to you, and what would you recommend it to people? Not necessarily Drew's thing. It's not an advert for Drew, but
CMO Huddles has been a really valuable community that I've joined in the last year. And Drew's done, something extraordinary in that he's brought together all of these B2B CMOs. And it's a really, it's great because every month we get together, and sometimes there's a topic that somebody has served up beforehand. Like, I'm really struggling with attribution. And we'll get on the call, and he will throw it out and say, all right, Melissa, what is your company doing, around attribution? What are the challenges? Are there specific technologies? What do you think is the critical path? And we actually talk through these challenges that we have. Sometimes we get on the call and we don't have a topic, and somebody will just say like, I'm really struggling in my relationship right now with my CFO, trying to get him to understand the value of brand building. And then we all kind of jump in and say, hey, have you thought about this? The community aspect of it is just, I can't even probably effectively articulate how valuable it is to me as a marketing leader to be in a group who are in the exact same role I'm in, who have the exact same challenges. Because regardless, one thing I've learned after 30 years in marketing, the problems that you have at the smallest company are the exact same problems that the leader has at the largest company. It's just a matter of scale. We're all struggling with the same things. And to get insight and input and ideas from people who are just like you, facing the exact same challenges that you are, is invaluable. Like, you just, you can't get that from your inquiry with your Forrester analyst.
Oh no.
Right. As great as they are, it's a totally different type of community and support.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I've known a lot of analysts over the years and stuff like that, but many of them are career analysts now. So you're talking to somebody who's actually had the same problem as you yesterday, rather than that. I mean, I think the analyst community are hugely valuable, and one of the regulars on this show is a former Forrester research director, Jeff Clark. So I'm not going to say anything bad about analysts, but I will say I think there is huge amount to get from somebody who's an actual practitioner doing it right now, and the same, which is I get a lot of value out of these conversations, to be honest. I mean, I started this podcast as a lockdown project 91 episodes ago, with the intention of talking to other CMOs and talking to other people in the industry and having these kinds of conversations and recording them and sharing them. So I really like this idea, and also Drew's podcast as well. I mean, that's what I learned from Drew's podcast, is that he shares a lot of those stories, and it is interesting that he'll have people that are in these. I listened to one the other day, and he had somebody who had a 2-person team and somebody who had a 40-person team, and they were talking about the same issue that they face. I can't remember what the exact issue was, but I think it's really interesting. So yeah, that's it.
And there's lots of opportunities to connect one-to-one with the other CMOs. So one of the issues I'm trying to understand right now, and if it's something that I can do in my organization, is around agile marketing. And so I reached out to Drew and said, hey, I'm thinking about agile marketing. Is there somebody in the group who's gone through the process who can talk me through, what I need to, all the things I need to be thinking about before I embark on this journey? And he connected me on a one-on-one with one of the other members of the CMO huddles who didn't happen to be in the little subgroup that I'm in. She carved out an hour of her time. She brought her primary person on her team who runs their agile program and talked me, through, here are like the
Cool.
10 things that you need to know and as you start on this journey. So there's lots of ways to engage with the group, and it's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, splendid. Well, I mean, I think that's quite enough of promoting Drew and his CMO.
I know, Drew. Gosh, he does so much anyway. Like, he needs this extra help.
I know. When I interviewed him, I said I was a fanboy, and he said, "Oh, my wife doesn't need to hear that because she'll think that I can't get through the doors. My head's so big." But anyway, to my final question, back to Rockstar CMO. We have a regular feature, the Rockstar CMO Simple, our portal to hell for all the snake oil BS and overhyped trends that plague this marketing craft we love. What would you throw in the Rockstar CMO Simple?
So this is gonna be a little controversial, but I think it has to. I think it has to do with, as marketers, marketing technology. Sometimes I think we're the problem and how we overhype and promote these things, and I think to the point where things that used to be obvious, a discipline within marketing becomes obfuscated because somebody latches onto something and then everybody rebrands around that. And I think the area, I don't know if it's really snake oil. I think it's a great area of confusion now is around account-based marketing, ABM. Like every company is now an ABM company. And to the point where it's really actually hard to understand when people say they're doing ABM, what that means. And now I've noticed that like even other leaders within the company will say, we should just throw some ABM at that. And I'm sitting there thinking like, you don't even know what you're talking about. And again, because
let's throw some ABM at that. I love
that. I've been around for a minute. I've been doing this for 30 years, and account-based marketing is not new. It's the same thing that we've been doing for long before I got into marketing, into understanding the key accounts that we're going after, understanding the people that are part of that buying committee, understanding the key pains that they have, and figuring out how we nurture that relationship. And so I think, and then of course we have all of these enabling technologies around understanding intent so that we can see the things that within that specific account, if somebody's actually searching on that, and that we can be more timely in how we respond to them. But I think we've gotten away from understanding. At the end of the day, I really think marketing does come down to some key fundamentals, and that ABM is really not this new fancy thing. We've got some interesting enabling technologies that we can apply that help us be more effective in our jobs. But it's not something where you just deploy technology and then suddenly this issue is resolved. You cannot throw ABM at that without understanding the fundamentals, having a strong interlock with your sales organization. And there's a lot of other pieces that are part of it to make it successful. So I think sort of the snake oil is like on us, because we're the ones that create, the messaging around this, and that it's the solution for all of our issues.
Yeah, no, I love that. The idea that the tech now is obfuscating the core fundamentals of marketing, and I think AB is a wonderful example of ABM. I think that you're so right, and I'm totally going to steal. Let's throw some ABM at that. Just make me laugh. Well, that was excellent, and that was certainly. And I also like the fact that when I talk to marketing technologists from or people that are from Martech B2B, so many of them want to throw a bit of tech into the swimming pool because we're very self-aware. I love that. All right, that's excellent. Thank you very much, Melissa. And when people spin the dial on the interwebs and they're looking for you, Melissa, where are they going to find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me on Twitter, Sargeant, and I look forward to hearing from you all.
Well, I look forward to staying in touch with you, Melissa. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa. A whole bunch of things we covered there. Really enjoyed that conversation. And I will, of course, include all of Melissa's links, including to Litmus, in the show notes. Plus, some more promotion of Drew Nizer and his CMO huddles that we heard about a couple of weeks ago when he was a guest on the show. Big fan of his podcast, and I will include links to his stuff too. Right, it's Friday evening here. Time to switch off Zoom and stop by the Rockstar CMO virtual bar, grab a cocktail with my friend and content marketing guru and chief troublemaker at the Content Advisory, Robert Rose, and find out what's on his mind this week. Good evening, Robert. What are you drinking?
Hello, my friend, and welcome to the bar, and welcome to the end of the week. It's
yes,
it's fantastic to be here, and this is my favorite time of year for sure. And so, much probably to your disappointment, this week I do not have a tequila drink for you.
Oh no!
I'm beginning to learn that you're maybe a little limited in your it's starting to dawn on me that you may be a little limited in the liquor. So I thought I'd go with a gin cocktail. And this is one that I actually, when I first started drinking, as a young boy.
Yes.
I've been drinking for a while.
On your mother's knee.
Yeah, I used to drink all the time when I was in college, and then stopped. And that's a gin fizz, which I know is also popular there in the UK. So
yes.
So the key is to make a proper gin fizz. You need not only gin and lemon and soda water, of course, which is the fizz part of the gin fizz. But to make it really great, you want to sort of whip up some egg whites and put that in there, and put a little. I like maple syrup because it's a little more pure than the simple syrup cocktail syrup. So you've got your gin, you've got your lemon, you've got your very, very frothy egg white to pour over the top of that, and then maybe a little simple syrup. I don't like that. Or better, maple syrup, which makes it a little more holiday anyway. And away you go. So that is our gin fizz.
That sounds splendid. And was there ice in that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Splendid.
You can do it without ice, but I put in
right.
ice.
Well, as you've already made reference to my desktop bar, I have got some gin. Hurrah! I'm back on the Oh no, it was Bombay Sapphire last week as well, isn't it? So I'm having some Bombay Sapphire, some London Dry.
Always
gin.
A good choice. Always a good choice.
Yes, you do like that one. So I guess that's what's in your gin fizz too.
Indeed, it's a Bombay Sapphire. Now I don't have access. Well, you do actually have access, and it's a crime that you haven't availed yourself of all of the amazing gins that are going on, especially in Ireland and parts around you. Which all those places that they're making whiskey, they're now making gin. So well, there are some amazing craft gins around you.
Yeah, my sister bought me some Welsh gin for my birthday a couple of years ago, which is really nice. And
there's so many jokes there. There's so many jokes there. I'm not even going near them. Yeah,
there's
Welsh
even
gin.
There's a gin still just up the road from where I am on a motoring heritage site that I need to go visit as well. So yes, you're right. I need to be a bit more. Oh, there's some fizz. Guess where that came from?
There you go.
As the odor of cucumber tonic water pervades my desktop. So yes, a little bit of Fever-Tree in there. Let me try this gin fizz. Oh no, I just said the name of it again. That's delicious, Robert. I could drink these every week. What did you call it?
I think you might, yeah.
And what did you call it?
That was a gin fizz.
That was delicious. Thank you very much. And
then you can do the slow gin fizz as well, which is truly, if you're in high school or college, you do the slow gin fizz, which is slow gin, which of course is very sweetened. Gin,
Yeah, not a fan. I'm not sure about the
not
simple
either.
syrup even I don't like putting simple syrup.
No, yeah, you can do so. There's so many ways you can sort of get around that. The maple syrup is one way for sure. I mean, it makes the egg whites a little more, it's a little more than show. It gives a little, texture to it,
Nice.
but yeah.
Nice. All right. So, and where would we be drinking these gin fizzes?
Well, I think we have to go someplace, because we are getting into the throes of winter here. And I know it's not winter yet, but it's getting there. It's certainly.
Oh my God, it's
cooler,
winter here, mate.
Yeah, and so I think we need to go someplace warm. And the place that comes leaping to mind that's warm right now is our friends down in Sydney.
Yes.
Which I am missing terribly, I have to tell you. I used to do Sydney every single year, and it has now been almost 3 years since I've been there. And I miss it because I love that city so much. So I think we need to find some great place in Sydney where it's warm and outside near the water, and drink our gin fizzes and chat about the world.
Very nice. Yeah, I mean, it's been many years since I've been to Sydney, but when I went there, it's got to be. I mean, I love London, I love New York, but it's right up there. It's like a little New York or something like that. And it's so cosmopolitan.
Well, it reminds me so much of home right here in Los Angeles, right? It reminds me very much of a smaller version and a more sane version of Los Angeles. It's spread out, it's on the water, it's very laid back, and it's just great food everywhere. And just really cool people. So I love that city so much.
Yeah. Less good Mexican food.
No, they don't really have a lot of Mexican food in Sydney, although it does exist. I have actually been to a Mexican restaurant in Sydney, and I will tell you, it was not great. No, it was. No,
it's the Asian food there, isn't it? It's just off.
Asian food is great. Well, but really, what's really good there are the steakhouses, right? So the amazing beef there, and it's just and it's all. They have so many places where the beef is, it's organically raised and all sorts of, it's just amazing.
Oh, got to stop thinking that. Oh, and I forgot, I was actually going to have something different to drink today to commemorate your 300th. I know that promoting your podcast on my show, obviously, I think we share the same listener anyway, so I think we're all right there.
Hi, Dennis.
I don't think I'm going to risk anything, but I was going to put a Tito's in my tonic, but people will have to listen to your 300th episode of This Old Marketing to know what the hell I'm banging on about. It's a bit inside baseball, but congratulations on 300 episodes of your own podcast. I think 300 of anything is pretty awesome. So well done.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's pretty surprising given the schedules. The businesses that both Joe and I have run, our lives and how we've balanced it. The fact that, aside from the sabbatical that Joe took right after selling CMI, that literally for the last 8 years, we've been able to come together once a week and do a show and do 300 of them without missing. We never, that's our big claim to fame is we've never missed a show. We even there was a few times where we had complete technical breakdowns. We were able to jump on the phone and get a show done, and all of that. I think I'm prouder of that actually than I am of anything else. The fact that we were so consistent for so many years, and actually it's a great case study, and we talk about it on this on the episode of it's an amazing case study of consistency over quantity. Because when we stopped for Joe's sabbatical, it was quite frankly something that, we may never actually fully recover from, the audience that we lost, et cetera. We hopefully, over time will recover and get to the numbers that we were prior. But we lost a good number of those people and many of them permanently, not because we changed the show or they don't like it or whatever, because we continually get, you're back on. Wow. I never knew, but because quite simply they stopped looking for us. And once people stop looking for you, it's really easy to not be found again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've got to become part of somebody's habit, haven't you? I mean, this episode would be episode 91 for me, and consistently doing it every single week. It takes, I mean, I'm not complaining, but I understand the commitment that you guys have done for 8 years is incredible. That's, I mean, well, longer than that. No, is it 8 years? Yeah. So hat tip to you for that. Well done. And cheers to, and Joe's not here, it's only you. Cheers to Joe and his Tito's and tonic.
Cheers to Joe and his Tito's and tonic. Yes, which is, fine, you know.
All right, mate. So we shouldn't talk about Joe because I think Joe gets talked about too much, even on your show. So what are we actually going to talk about while we enjoy the warmth of Sydney during this miserable bloody winter?
Well, it is the middle of December, and I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but the funny thing is, you look at the calendar, and the math basically says there are 20 more weekdays until the end of the new year. But honestly, with the way that vacations work and holiday closures, the real number to that is, if we start, subtracting those out, it's closer to like 12, so it's literally the 12 days of Christmas before the end of the year. And these interesting thing is, I've received so many emails last minute, sort of, especially in content marketing, but marketing more broadly, even these last minute planning things. Budgets are due, plans are due, 2022. Oh my God, it's going to be here. And what are we going to do? And the interesting thing to me is, in this, sort of chaos, there's a fascinating trend that I notice, and this is not anything new. This is certainly something that's been around forever, but the question in those plans isn't what are we going to do, it's how are we going to get everything done. And the spoiler alert, I hate to break it to all those folks who plan that way, is you're not going to get everything done. You're just simply not. We've got this really funny relationship with planning, right? We and I'm guilty as this as anybody, trick ourselves into believing that the output of a planning process is a plan to accomplish all these tasks that we've decided to do, right? In other words, we've decided on this, and we've decided on that, and we've decided on those other things, and someone else decided that we needed to do this. So all those decisions were taken 4 months ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, last week, and then we basically put all those up on a whiteboard, and we go, great, now that's our goals. We have to figure out how we're going to get it all done. And, from a content perspective, I see this all the time where, basically you get, okay, here's all the decisions passed along from upper management about what content should be, the requests from other parts of the business, product, sales, et cetera, the content team, our own goals, our own things that we want to do. And then we look at all those things and go, great, now let's create a plan to achieve all of them. And I'm going to let you take a wild guess at which one of those, those goals and decisions don't get included in the ultimate plan. Hint, it's the last one. It's the one, it's our goals. We sort of just get all that. And as I've been saying, if your content plan is simply a list of all the decisions that have already been made, it's not a strategic plan, it's a production schedule. And so the key is that planning is different than a plan. Planning is actually taking the decisions, wiping the whiteboard clean. You've got to stop looking at the plan as the output, and rather looking at all of those decisions as decisions that need to be made as part of a planning process. And it's like, well, how do you do that? Well, the key is not to wait to the last 12 days of the year to do it, first of all. And the second thing is to sort of build that into your process. So those decisions, by the time we get to the last 12 days before Christmas, the decisions that we've taken are not those that have just sort of been handed down to us, or the ones that we're coming up with right now and figuring out how to do. They are the ones that we've decided, yes, we will do this. More importantly, the ones that we will not do, that we've decided not to do, and aligned all of that together so that the planning process becomes taking the decisions, and the plan then becomes, of those decisions that we've taken, here is our approach to actually accomplishing them, because that's going to influence the 365 days that come next.
After, No, we talk about planning on the show quite a bit, and it's such an essential element of marketing. And I actually read something. It was from last year. It just popped up in my LinkedIn feed by the Ad Contrarian, where he was saying that strategy was a luxury for those for the rich, right? That not every organization has the luxury of being able to create a strategy, that the marketers have to get in there and just get the tactics done so that they can then earn the revenue. But the problem with that is, just, you know, that I'm constantly banging on about the hamster wheel. The problem is, if you just jump on the hamster wheel and run, you're not really going to get anywhere, are you? You need to have at least a plan.
Well, Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, strategic planning is it's the same problem, right? Not only doing content or marketing, but strategic business planning. And by the way, so many times I hear frustrations from the leads in marketing or the leads in as content practitioners saying that senior executives are skeptical about our content planning process.
Yeah.
Well, guess why? It's because the already made decisions that you're trying to map out on how to do, they become a barrier to good decision making, full stop. In other words, if your only job is to figure out the tangible tactical roadmap for everything that's thrown on your plate, you're not strategic planning. And so is it any wonder that the executive goes, I don't believe any of this. Why should they? Right?
Yeah.
You're basically saying, here's how to accomplish bad decisions, here's how to accomplish good decisions, and here's how to accomplish decisions that are really, quite frankly, in the middle of the road somewhere. Yeah. By coming to them and saying, look, the strategic plan should include this, this, and this, and not that, that, and that, even if it contains something that the CEO wants. That's the proposal that we should be putting in front of senior executives. And if they then tell us, no, you're going to do my thing because I said so, well, then so be it. But it's coming up with the right strategy first and then figuring out how we're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And, we all have those things. The CEO wants to do something, but they have to choose the thing that it's going to replace, because you only have a certain amount of time and bandwidth that you can focus on these things. You can't do everything, right? So if you're organized enough to have that costed out from a time and people perspective, and you've got that strategy and you've got that plan, then when that weird thing comes along, or that vanity project or whatever it is, you can say, well, okay, we're going to have to lose one of these. Which one is?
That's exactly right. Yeah, one of the things that I often do with clients when we do our road mapping exercise to change the process of content marketing or content strategy or what we're going to do in marketing and those kinds of things is, we start with the end in mind, right? Our goals and our objectives and the things that we're trying to do. And we sort of work backwards to create a plan to the decisions that are going to need to get made in order to accomplish those goals. And one of the initial questions is, when we write those goals out on the whiteboard, somebody goes, well, what's the date, right, of those goals? Because, and I go, no, we're not thinking about dates yet. Don't think about dates yet, because what that immediately does is put you into we might not have enough budget, or Bob might get in our way, or this thing might happen. And then we start building our plans based on decisions that we've already assumed will get made. And which is the opposite of what we should do. We should come up with the right strategy, come up with the right planning for that. And then identify, just as you said, identify all the roadblocks that could come up, decisions that might be made that could provide roadblocks to this right strategy, and basically then say, okay, great, what is our plan to address that roadblock? If the CEO says it's going to be blue, guess what? It's going to be blue, independent of the decision, the planning that we do. But at least we've then planned for it to say, this is what it should be, and this is how long it should take, and all of those kinds of things. And then when those roadblocks appear, we can go, great, this is how we're going to, address it when it comes up.
Yeah, perfect reminder at this time of year. And it's funny when you say, there's really only 12 days left. I mean, this is going to be, we're recording this on Friday the 3rd, and it's going to go out on the 4th tomorrow. But yeah, you're right. We've only got a couple of weeks
so there's only 11 days left now.
Yeah, exactly. And I even heard from somebody today saying, I've still got some budget to spend this year. And I'm like, is that this calendar year or financial year? Calendar year. I was like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyway, so on that note, where can people find similar thoughts to this from you, Mr. Robert Rose?
Well, similar thoughts might be found on our little hovel on the web, which is contentadvisory.net.
Wonderful. And when our listeners spin the dial on the interwebs, our listener, I should say, when Dennis spins the dial on the interwebs, where is he going to find you?
You'll find us on social media, all the usual spots, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. I think my avoidance of Clubhouse has proven to be successful so far, and will in the future as well. So you won't find me there.
Excellent. Well, and will I find you in the bar next week?
You will indeed, yes.
Fantastic. I look forward to it. Thanks, mate.
Of course.
Thank you, Robert. Good points about planning, and congrats again to him and Joe Polizzi on 300 episodes of This Old Marketing. Something else I'll include a link to in the show notes, along with all of Robert's links. So that's a wrap on episode 91 of the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast. Thank you for dropping a dime into your podcasting jukebox, selecting our track and jiving along with us. I've been your host, Ian Truscott. Thanks again to Jeff, Melissa and Robert for joining me and for sharing their insight. Please follow them, say hello, check out their work, and I'll include all their links in the show notes, which you can find on your favourite podcast app or at rockstarcmo.fm, where you can also find all our previous episodes. So, does the world need another effing marketing podcast? Let us know with a nice rating or review in your favourite podcast app, or share your thoughts with us at Rockstar CMO on Twitter or LinkedIn, or just keep listening. I'm glad you're here. Next week, as you heard, Jeff is off for the holidays. I have Nora Sudath, co-founder of Hello Audio, in the calendar, and I'll again be joined by Robert Rose in the Rockstar CMO virtual bar. Until then, have a great week, and I hope you'll again join us here next week at Rockstar CMO FM.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Christy Heiler hosts a fantastic podcast called Own It. Christy, tell us more about the show.
Own It is all about celebrating women and non-binary advertising agency owners. We talk about buying out of the boys' club of advertising because less than 1% of ad agencies are owned by women.
And where can people subscribe?
You can find the podcast at untilyouownit.com. We're also on the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcast.net. And of course, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.